The new ASUS TUF FX505DU gaming laptop is a bit different. It's got an AMD CPU with Nvidia graphics, but just how well does it perform in games? In this testing, I've benchmarked 19 different games at all setting levels to show you how well it runs, and compared it against some other gaming laptops to see how it stacks up. Just quickly before we jump into the benchmark results, I'll cover off the specs in my unit. I've got the DU model, which means there's an AMD Ryzen 7 3750H CPU and Nvidia GTX 1660 Ti graphics, an unusual combination. I've also got 16GB of dual channel memory, though my unit did come with single channel out of the box, but it looks like you can purchase it with either. It's available with some different configurations. You can see examples and check updated prices linked in the description. I was running Windows 10 with the latest Nvidia drivers available, and I've got turbo mode enabled for best performance. However, I didn't find this to overclock the 1660 Ti. Just as a reminder, we're only looking at gaming performance here. If you're new to the channel, get subscribed for the upcoming full review, which will cover everything. We'll start off with the results from all 19 games at all setting levels, then compare with some other gaming laptops afterwards to see how the FX505 stacks up. Battlefield 5 was tested in campaign mode and not in multiplayer mode, as it's easier to consistently reproduce the test run. The results here seemed fair, and it was definitely playable with ultra settings with above 60 FPS averages possible. Battlefield 1 was also tested in campaign mode, and was performing very well, with ultra settings getting us closer to 100 FPS now. And while the 1% low was a little inconsistent, it was still above 60 for all settings. Apex Legends was tested with either all settings at maximum or all settings at the lowest possible values, as it doesn't have predefined setting presets. It played fine even with everything at maximum, though dropping down to minimum boosted FPS by 41%. Far Cry New Dawn was tested with the built-in benchmark. In this test, 55 FPS averages were hit at ultra settings. Honestly, not all that far behind some higher spec options. Fortnite was tested with the replay feature, and this game runs well on pretty much anything. At ultra settings, it was still possible to reach above 100 FPS in this test with decent 1% lows, with higher still possible at lower settings. Overwatch is another well-optimized game, and was tested in the practice range, as other players, bots, and even different maps in actual gameplay affect the frame rate, and this allows for consistent testing. Again, even at epic settings, the average FPS is great for the 120Hz panel, with above 100 for the 1% low. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was tested with the built-in benchmark. I don't have too much 1660 Ti laptop data yet, but even the Infinity S7 I recently tested, which was hampered with single-channel memory, was a little ahead here, showing that the more powerful i7 9750H is going to make a difference in many titles. I'll be doing many different CPU comparisons with the Ryzen 7 3750H though, so make sure you're subscribed for those. Metro Exodus was tested using the built-in benchmark. Most parts of the game perform a fair bit better than this, so don't take these results as a good indication of what to expect throughout the entire game. It's more of a worst case, but does let you perform the same test to compare against. CSGO was tested using the Uletical FPS benchmark, and like always, high frame rates were coming out of this test. However, the results were noticeably lower when compared against the Intel-based laptops I usually test, though it seems to be well known that this game favors Intel CPUs, so if CSGO is your focus, this may not be the best for you. Rainbow Six Siege was tested with the built-in benchmark, and as a game, I've found a benefit from Nvidia's new Turing architecture. Like some of the other well-performing games, this one generally always does pretty good on modern hardware. PUBG was tested using the replay feature, and in this game, I saw no major differences between the different setting levels. In terms of average FPS, there was only around a difference of 5 between very low and ultra, with inconsistent 1% low results. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was tested with the built-in benchmark, and seems to be quite a CPU-heavy test, so overall, results are a little down over the recent Intel laptops I've covered. Dota 2 was tested playing in the middle lane with an average amount of action going on, and it played well without any noticeable issues. 144 FPS averages were possible with low settings, while Ultra was still above 90. Watch Dogs 2 was a resource-intensive game, however with a solid 30 FPS, to me it plays fine. So even with Ultra settings, with our 31 1% low, I had no trouble playing, though personally I have a hard time seeing the difference between Ultra and very high anyway. Ghost Recon is another demanding game and was tested using the built-in benchmark. Unless you've got a top-of-the-line thick laptop, 60 FPS at Ultra in this test is basically not possible, though was achieved with very high settings here. The Witcher 3 was running well with Hairworks disabled. Even with Ultra settings, to me it was playing perfectly fine with an average 70 FPS while still also looking great. Doom was tested using Vulkan, and this game saw the first problem with the AMD and Nvidia hybrid laptop. By default, Vulkan games seem to want to use the Vega 10 graphics instead of the GTX 1660 Ti, so I could only get Vulkan to work by disabling the Vega 10 graphics in Device Manager. Anyway, once I got it working, we're able to hit around 100 FPS at ultra settings. It was running very well. Strange Brigade was another game that was tested with Vulkan, and like Doom, this one would error and not run unless I disabled the Vega 10 graphics on the AMD CPU through the Device Manager. After that, it worked without issue, with 90 FPS averages at ultra possible in this test. Shadow of War was tested with the built-in benchmark, and is another game that I've found to benefit from Nvidia's new Turing architecture. Even ultra settings was able to average above 60 FPS in this test, so not too bad. Let's also take a look at how this config of the ASUS TUF FX505DU compares with other gaming laptops to see how it stacks up. Use these results as a rough guide only, as they were tested at different times with different drivers. In Battlefield 5, I've got the FX505DU up the top in red, and like I said before, it's performing quite well, still above 60 FPS at ultra. While it doesn't look too good here comparatively, keep in mind the newest 16 series graphics only just launched for laptops, so I don't yet have that much other data to compare with. Again, it's worth remembering the Infinity S7 was tested with single channel memory. Despite this, it's performing better, presumably due to the higher tier 9750H CPU. These are the results from Shadow of the Tomb Raider with the built-in benchmark at highest settings. And well, yeah, again it's in last place, but that's only because I've been sent higher spec machines lately. I know you guys want to see lower to mid-range options, and I'm trying to get them. Unfortunately, I don't have too much say and just get what I'm given. But there are more 1650 and 1660 Ti laptops here to test, so don't worry. Overall, the gaming performance from this machine was quite good. This is the first time I've tested the 1660 Ti in a laptop with dual channel memory, so I don't yet have much other data to compare with. But I'll build up more data over time, so stay tuned. Sure, the performance in many games here aren't quite as high when compared to many other laptops I've recently tested, but you've got to factor in that lately I've only been sent higher end models. While I was skeptical of the AMD and Nvidia hybrid, overall it worked well and I admit better than I was expecting, with the exception of my two Vulkan titles as previously discussed. Though even without my workaround, both games still ran fine without Vulkan, so hopefully that bug gets fixed. I'll have comparisons between the Ryzen 7 3750H and Intel CPUs once I get back from Computex. Let me know what other comparisons you'd like to see with the FX505DU, and let me know your thoughts on this strange AMD and Nvidia hybrid gaming laptop down in the comments. From what I've seen so far, it's performing pretty well. Make sure you're subscribed for the upcoming full review.